traders, this is Rev-Up with SageFT. You're watching the live trading desk review and Rev-Up for the 14th of September. I hope your teams on the pitch and on the field are winning. If not, well, maybe better luck next week. All right, let's take a review. Where were we at? Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. We started off right here. Friday being a nice little inside bar, outside, closing inside, closing within the 50%. So we're looking for an up move here, and we get it, right? So how did we play it? Well, let's take a look into the lower time frames here. Well, the way that we played it was we waited for resistance. We waited for support, waited for the pullbacks, waited for it to go back into position one. Let's turn the Joeys off here. Waited for it to go back into position one, and that's exactly what happened as we moved back here and pushed. Notice that the 20 simple, when it stays above the 200 moving average, the tests of the 20 period simple moving average seem to be very, very strong. And then what they do is it looks like they're waiting for it to get above the 8 EMA. Okay, and this is on the 4-hour chart, right? And then any sort of draws that don't affect the moving average, right, look clean. Okay, so we're going to see how those looked on a lower time frame. Now, here's the 15-minute chart. Okay, so had we play it? Well, paying attention to the KISS. Here's where we're long only, wait for it to come back. And professionals can trade right here. Newer traders, you want to wait for complete clarity. The best place to trade, and sometimes it doesn't happen every week. The best time to trade is when it flips back into position one or goes into initial position one here and here on the 15-minute chart. You drill down to the 2-minute and you lock in. Now, let's take a look at where it would have been advisable to trade. And what we want to do is we want to look at where would we trade based upon the 15-minute chart and using the 2-minute chart in direct relation. Okay, so now you'll see that some of them are drawn already. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to look at when you're looking to trade back into position one. Okay, we'll just do a couple examples, right? And then we'll move on to what do we want to look at next week. So now the first thing we want to look at is what we're going to do is we're going to go back to anything that shows position one on the 15-minute chart. So we're going to start with 2 p.m. on the 9th of September. So right here. Okay, so now notice that right before that, it goes into position one and you have what we call a painted bar. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're following your criteria and your rules, because as we come into, this is the previous day's high, which would be Monday's high, you want to make sure that you're following your protocol for how you're going to execute. Now, as it comes into, you see that it starts to chop around, go sideways, gives a bunch of false signals. Okay, this is where a bunch of people lose all their money, right? Because what we needed to do was we needed to identify down here when it was time to stop selling. Okay, there's many different ways that you can do that, and those are discussed in different videos. Right now we're talking about what happens when you go into position one on the 15-minute. How do you get in? How do you get in on the 2-minute? Here's how it works. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to be watching for the momentum on the 15-minute chart, and what you're going to do is you're going to wait for possible failure, right? You're going to wait for this to chop around. Chop, 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 chop. Okay, but watch, you have a failed sell signal that's kind of out of context, right? It's kind of out of context because this looks like a V bottom, right? If we go over here, this kind of looks like a V bottom for me. Now, also, you're getting a buy signal right here at 1:45 p.m. on the 15-minute chart at 14. All right, so now let's draw that out because this kind of changes how you look at it, right? So the way that we draw it, here's your entry, here's the sweep of the leg, your stop is 9, your entries at 14 and 11:50. Now, let's look at what time that is. Okay, now look, so you'd enter at 2 p.m. at 14. Add order is 11:50 and your stop is 9. Now, let's watch. See, it doesn't say sell. So if it doesn't say sell, you don't take this bar here. All right, now, if it says buy right afterwards, here's how this plays out. Because you're in a long signal on the 15-minute chart, what are you going to do? Remember, here's your long signal on the 15-minute, right? Let's box it out. Let's label it. So what would we do? Well, here's a 2-minute long. Watch this. Sweep the leg at 15. Your stop is 12.75. Now, we don't know if these trades win or lose. You just draw them out and you punch them. So now this is going to be your 2-minute. Okay. So 2-minute alarm paint bar. Okay. You don't know what's going to happen. You're watching the levels. I don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter over here. Okay. What's the low here? 13. Okay. So now we're not sure yet, but we have a pretty good clue as to what's going to happen because watch this. Mancini 18. Okay. You've got again with a 12.50 stop, 18 to 12.50 on the 15:30 bar. So that would be 3:30 p.m. So between 3:15 and 3:30. Okay, so again, we're going to go like this. Okay, we're going to label it 15-minute long. All right, now, okay, watch this. So now we've got it all mapped out. We've got a 15-minute long. We've got a 2-minute. Start loading the boat. Start your core position. So now, what's the next thing that we do? You guessed it. Watch this. All right, so now we're going to enter here at 1925. Okay, you get the point. You get the pitch. Okay, do you see it? All right, now imagine how you're going to enter the rest of those. You get to enter at 17 because you leave the sweep of the leg there. Your stop is still 14.75. Now, the way that this works is these are all individual trades. This is a 2-minute trade. This is a 2-minute trade, 2-minute trade, 2-minute trade. This is a 15-minute trade. This is a 15-minute trade. They're independent of each other, but they're giving you the green light for, hey, look, they might be breaking this thing up. So what I do is I trade a little heavier leverage on the smaller time frames and lighter leverage on the larger time frames. That way I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. One thing you have to make sure that people understand is if you're in prop firms that do not allow hedging, you cannot be long the micros and short the minis. You cannot do that. I want to remind everyone. All right. Speaking of prop firms, Apex 80% off right now. What a great deal. Jump in that with the code SageFT. All right, let's move on. Okay, so now the way that the rest of this was traded is very, very standard in the fact that it's literally just repeating the process that I just showed you. Okay, now what I want to talk about is what's moving forward. Okay, and then we're going to do something really, really cool this time. You're not going to want to miss this. This is something that you're going to want to see. You're going to want to not miss. But the first thing we want to watch is, okay, here's what we have on the S&P, the ES, and it expires pretty soon, right? Coming in this week, next week. Real soon. So it's getting closer to the value of the cash index on the settlement date. Okay, now, so watch this. We have this little pop above. Now, I wanted to make this video before I watched a couple of the other guys that I absolutely agree with in their trading, but I didn't get here in time and I accidentally watched one of them and he showed exactly what I was going to show. So this is not me regurgitating what another person is showing. This is exactly what I was looking for. And I'll show you what I mean here shortly as we go back and look at it in a different way. Okay. Now look at the cash index here. Okay. And what I want you to look at is how it's perfect. If I were a good artiste, it's actually to the tick. Okay. Now the ES got ahead of itself. So is it suggesting higher or not? Well, we don't know. Right, so now that's what we're looking at for next week. So if we go down to the smaller time frames, you can see this line is significant. So if we slide, we go back through some areas low, there were not a lot of operations conducted. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to see if they invert those levels. Now, there's a few of them, but some a lot of them are dirty, right? Everybody's like, well, you missed one. It's like, no, I didn't. What we want to do is we want to look at, well, what about this one here? Okay, great. But again, it's dirty. It's already been tapped, right? So, they've already, right? So they're creating pinpricks. So here's another pinprick, right? Look, we could do this all day. So what you want to watch for is where the pinprick is it springboarding off or not? Okay, that's the 4-hour chart. Going to the 15-minute, you can see it's creating, it's conducting business in a balanced manner, okay? So what we want to watch for is where is the next move? And where's the next move with volume at the same time? Okay, now here's the 1-hour chart, and I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, this was our number all week long. All last week, our target was 6603.25 on the 1-hour chart, on the Joey chart. So full thanks to Joey for giving me these lines here. I like to share them with you, but I'm not allowed to tell you what they are just because out of context, they will make no sense unless you fully understand all of the things that Joey looks at and explores and finds daily and adds to and takes away and stops and does, right? So let me just regurgitate it to you. And right now, 660325. But if we go to the 4-hour, all right, let's bring it in. Okay, you have 6517 way down there. Okay, does it make noise? Okay, or do we just keep pushing? Right now we're looking for what happens on the first touch of red on the 4-hour chart. These are the things that if they invert this thing, we're going to be watching these levels. All right, now I want to bring in something new. I'm going to bring in something fun. Okay, what I want to show you now is I want to share with you something that I've created here, and anyone that's not in the United States can participate. Okay, now inside the United States, it's just there's laws that prohibit this from happening for the protection of the consumer. Okay, but here's the deal. What we can do is, if you are outside the United States, using the code that I'm going to provide for you, I've set up a small account right here, okay, that you can copy trade. Look for SageFT in the copy trade after you join using the link that I'm going to provide. But what I'm going to do is I trade the 4 hour, okay, and I'm literally sharing the trades with you every time I buy and sell. Now listen, they are small amounts, so everyone can participate, okay? Everyone can participate. Okay, so here's the trades that I've got going on, right? And I've been calling these trades for people in the Discord, if you have been paying attention. Okay, now here's the thing. I've created this tiny little portfolio, right? And what I'm doing is I'm using the perpetual futures. Okay, and perpetual futures are exactly what you think they are. They just continuously roll over. Okay, but what's really cool about it is it's a real small account, right? Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm using highly leveraged and very small amounts of money, literally very small amounts of money, that you can follow along what I'm doing in real time. You can follow me, literally follow me, and it'll just update and it'll show you what I'm trading. Okay, or you can copy trade it. Okay, on Femex, SageFT. And now what I want to show you is how well the Joey charts work on cryptos. Okay, now you can see all my orders, you can see all my trades, you can see everything that I'm doing. All right, so now let's kind of look at this. And what I'm doing is you just follow the moving averages. Okay, let's look at Solana. This is a good one. Okay. And so now on Solana, if we look, we had a a different exchange. It was 217, okay, 217 spot 9 and 222 spot 27. So here on Femex, we have 218 and 222. So now what I'm watching is, if we go through red, if we get to red, do we bounce off of it? If we get to through red, does blue rest on one of these lines that it comes down to, and does it bounce off of it? If it bounces off of it, I will enter. I only trade the 4 hour chart. I don't go down into the 15 minute. I don't check anything at all. I don't check anything at all underneath the 4 hour chart or the daily chart. Okay, now you'll see that, well, there's a Trump coin. Yeah, because I didn't close it when it was $80, right? Yeah, and so I own some of them from like $17 or what $27 or whatever it is. And I didn't take any more profit on any of them way up here. Well, I only had 1 or 2, right? And so now I just have a very low. I think I have $5 on this trade. Yeah. It's like $4.80 or something like that. Oh, margin is $27. Perfect, right? These and so everyone can join and watch, but that's not the gist of what I'm showing here. Okay, what I want to show is the way that these work so well. Okay, with the Joeys, that it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. I mean that called the Ethereum high. All right, now let's look at Litecoin. That's another one that I've been building on. So do we get so see the blow 119, right? What 119.35? See how we're reacting 119.35? All right, we're watching that level. Do we blast it? Okay, or do we come right back down in? Okay, if we come right back down in, do we hold 114? Do we go to a moving average? If we take time off the clock, does blue end up on the 114 and does it bounce? Those are the things we're watching. Or does it go straight through and it's got a 135? Now here's the troubling thing about the LTC, the Litecoin, is it failed up here. Okay, it recovered down here. It recovered real nicely. Okay, right around 109. Otherwise, there was some knocking on some doors a little bit lower there, 105, and then it was really in trouble. So we're gonna watch the levels below on that. Now, one that everybody likes to talk about is XRP. This one is spot on perfect. It is a very, very nice trade. Okay, on the 4 hour chart, you have resistance all the way through the 326s. Noise, it's very noisy, right? Between 305, 306, okay, and 326. If it pops to the top side of 327, what does it do? We don't know. We're going to find out. Now, if it starts failing and it goes back into the 301s, it can't go below the 288s unless it's going to create some value. Now, on the other side of this is a perfect accumulation pattern. So is this it? Is this the draw? Okay. Is this the spring? Are we going to go? Or is this still just hype? Okay. Now, back to the S&P 500 because I want to get with that and kind of finish up here. It is really a matter of what is the cash index going to do on the daily chart, okay? Right here. If we fall, we're watching 6471 on the cash index, okay? And then on the daily chart for the Joey indicator, okay, we've got 6558 and 6489. Very simple. If it goes down, it's going to go through there and hit the, what is that, 6293. Those are the levels we're watching. We'll see everyone tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. live on YouTube. Good night.